say Scotland did vote for independence. What would the country look like then?
Law. To Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth for heirs and successors according to law.
Will history view today, May the 11th, 2011, as the first real step along the way to Scotland's independence? It certainly changed the political landscape. 69 SNP members of Parliament, members of a majority government no less. What this certainly does mean is the SNP leader and First Minister Alex Salmond has full command of the referendum process. So there will be one. But what sort of Scotland will people be voting for or against? We went to find out. Starting with the big money question, the economy. At the moment, Scotland effectively receives an allowance, a bit like housekeeping, to help run its own domestic affairs. With independence would come control of the entire purse strings. Scotland would decide how to make its money and how to spend it, and what that money would look like. One of the key questions is the cost of transforming Scotland. Can the country even afford it?
The SNP maintain that they've costed this. Lots of people think that's cloud cuckoo land stuff. So I think it comes back to a different question. In history, I don't think around us any set of people, any nation has ever gone for independence on the basis of being better off. And if the Scots want a cast iron guarantee that they will be better off by being independent, it will never happen.
Central to a nation's identity, as much of Europe has found, is its currency. What money would be changing hands in the bars and shops on Scottish streets?
It seems that the SNP would want to stick with the pound sterling for the foreseeable future. It may be that there would be a longer-term ambition to join the euro. But in the shorter term, the Scottish economy would remain very closely intertwined with the rest of the UK economy. And insofar as policy decisions for the Eurozone don't work for the UK very well, or wouldn't work for the UK very well, they wouldn't work for an independent Scotland very well either.
Edinburgh Castle is a symbol of Scotland's past military might. Today, Scotland has no responsibility for matters of national defence. No say as to whether it wants to participate in conflicts like Iraq. A newly independent Scotland would have its own army, the right to defend its own borders. But how would that work? And what role would Scotland play on the world stage? Britain famously punches above its weight. Would an independent Scotland follow suit?
This is the ludicrous thing. You'd have to have a Scottish army to defend the borders and send to the United Nations the way Ireland does. You'd have an Air Force and a Navy and a Coast Guard. I mean, it's absolutely farcical when you think of it in those kind of details.
In its white paper, Your Scotland, Your Voice, published in 2009, the SNP made clear its intention to give the country a much stronger international presence, proposing a much greater role in institutions like the European Parliament and the United Nations. Its critics are sceptical.
Scotland would develop an international personality greater than it has at the moment. There would be the opportunity, of course, to open embassies abroad. One question would be about the Security Council seat. The United Kingdom presumably would retain that. How would Scotland negotiate itself into the European Union? Suddenly Scotland would have a seat at important deliberations on future constitutional treaties within the European Union. So at those kind of levels, Scotland would certainly take its place as a small nation within Europe.
Quite clearly, institutions will change. The British will be taken out of the British Broadcasting Corporation in Scotland. And what, not to put it too bluntly, to do with the Queen? Could a new out-on-its-own Scotland really keep the Queen as head of state?
The SNP have clearly indicated that the Queen would continue to be head of state, but that's only because they're afraid of the option. The logic surely would dictate that a new country in a modern world would not have a hereditary monarchy, and therefore Scotland would become a republic.
So who would be the head of your republic in 20 years' time?
Well, Well, I guess at the head of our wonderful Scottish Republic would be Alex Salmond, because he would retire from politics, and these guys, when they retire, always need a nice retirement niche.
And how does that thought appeal to you?
About as much as Scottish independence.